Alright, so a new thing we've implemented with Genesis 3 female is that for things like the shoes, handheld props, stuff like that that loads in and has a fit pose, a shoe fit pose, or a hand grip pose, or whatever the case may be, anything along those lines that loads in that has a pose in order to be holding it or standing in them correctly, needs to load with that pose applying to Genesis 3 female. Catch, of course, is that we don't want that pose, one, setting expressions, or two, doing anything else to the figure. The way we do that is here it's already posed, already set up with a shoes here. Let me save it out as a wearable preset. First, we make sure that the shoes, or whatever the case may be, is a parent or a child of Genesis 3 female, so they're in a hierarchy, which all followers should be. And then with the root selected, Genesis 3 female selected, we go save as wearable preset, and we go to save out the shoes. And when we get here, we do want the shoes saved out. We also want to include the pose settings in the preset. We don't want to include all the pose settings, so we're going to uncheck all. We do want to include the pose control information. In this case, because they're shoes, we want to include the feet pose control information. If it was a handheld prop, then we'd go in, we'd save the right left hand prop, or right left hand pose controls, whichever applied. And now we got to go find the feet down in here. And the easiest way to do that is probably go like this: expand from current. Once you get down to the left something, go down to the left foot and check them all, and then collapse that back, come to this one here, expand from current, find the foot, check it all, and then, because we don't really need the translation or the scale information, we just need the rotations, we're going to uncheck all the translations, and we'll uncheck all the scales, and that leaves us just the rotations on the 2 feet. There's everything under the 2 feet, so it's the feet, the metatarsals, the toes, etc. And it's still got the pose controls down here for the feet. So that saves out the wearable preset so that it'll load in quickly. If I do this again here, you can see real quick. And there it loads in the shoes correctly. We also want the foot fit pose still included. This one here includes one. Typically we still want that fit pose included, so that if people apply a pose from somewhere else, it doesn't follow the rules and it messes up the foot posing so that the shoes don't fit anymore. They'll have that pose available with Genesis 3, unlike Genesis 2 where it was just a regular pose on Genesis 3 female, or on Genesis 2 female. For Genesis 3 we want it saved as a hierarchical pose, so we can set it compatible with the object that it works with. Obviously it works with Genesis 3 female, but then you wind up with 1,000 foot poses and no idea which one goes to what. So we want it set hierarchical so we can set it compatible with the shoes that it goes with, or the sword that it goes with, or whatever the case may be. To do that, it's a lot trickier, because the options are different when you're saving out a hierarchical pose preset. So in order to get it to work, what we need to do is we need to go to pose controls, right click into edit mode, and then select all the pose controls and set the presentation of them to none, and then accept. And then we'll go in this case we want the feet. If we wanted the hands, we'd go in, we do right feet, left, or right hand, left hand, whichever hand it applied to. Of course, if this loaded one shoe, we'd go right, left, whichever applied. So here we've got the feet selected. We're going to go back in and Control A to select them all, and then set the presentation on them to back to poses. So basically what we just did was just told Studio that the pose controls aren't poses anymore. Then we went back in and told the feet are, and we do it that way, of course, because it's easier than going through and you can't control select all those and have it work reliably. So we select them all, tell them that they're not poses, then we select the feet and say okay, these are. So then we go back over here to Genesis. Yeah, same thing. We got Genesis 3 female still selected. The shoes are in the hierarchy. They're children of as all followers should be. And then we go save a hierarchical pose preset, and we'll save that right there. And here it gets tricky. We're going to uncheck all, and we do want to include the shoes just in case there's any poses or whatnot applied to the shoes. We'll save the, basically in order to get the shoes included, they have to be checked. So we check the shoe base, the base node of the shoes. We come out here and expand it, and just hit expand from left. There's no select all, and this isn't a I guess a three-way toggle. It doesn't, when you select that, it doesn't toggle everything below it, so you got to go through here and you can't follow where you're at, but if you hit the space bar you can see where it's at, and then if you just space and down arrow through all those, and again it doesn't follow. You can't really tell where you're at when you're doing the arrow thing. You can't tell what's selected. It shows that, but that's not accurate. So we check our way down. I expand all. And there's no check. You can check scene selected, so I suppose you could select them in the scene if you remember to do that first. See where I'm at there. Okay. And then you just select your way on down. And then you make sure that you got the root poses included. Even though we don't want root poses included in the pose, that's the only way to get the pose control saved out in a hierarchical pose preset. So you do that, you hit accept, and then because where am I? Oops, that was right. And then because we did have to save out the root information, we don't want root information included. What we can do now is we'll go back to our handy dandy text editor. Grab that pose, throw it into the text editor. Here's the scene where the scene section where it defines all the nodes involved in the pose. And right below that you got the animation section where it sets the actual pose values, and it always starts off with the root nodes root, or the root object, the base object, the base figure's root node information. Basically it's the Genesis 3 female root node stuff, which is what we don't want, so we're going to rip that out. And again, I highly advocate against hand editing files, but in this case, in order to get that information out of there, you kind of got to check and make sure that our bracketing lines up right, and save it. And now we've got a pose, which if I Control Shift F to restore the figure, it goes back to the normal. Oops, where is it? Here it is. And we can set that pose compatible with the shoes, so that if somebody selects the shoes, that pose will show up in Smart Content, and then they can apply it, and it works just fine. It's kind of run around, but that's the way hierarchical poses are set. The save options are set up in hierarchical poses. You got to go through all that.